Serious, if you could learn the truth of any one mystery, urban legend or conspiracy theory, what would you choose? The Panama Papers. Loads of wealthy people involved and murders attached to it also. What deep-sea creatures exist that we haven't found yet? Just how big is the largest squid out there? I gotta go with the first ever unsolved mystery that really made me think. Mystery of the Somerton Man. In the 1948 a guy was found dead on a beach in Adelaide, Australia. He was never identified and months after finding his body they found a fake pocket in his pants. It was torn from a copy of the book Ruby Art of Omar Khayyam. I googled that, and had a phrase on it which said Tamam shud, which means ended or finished in Persian. They found the book that it came from, but the owner denied ever knowing the guy. There was an encrypted message in the book that they found and it still hasn't been cracked. Apparently there's been a development recently that might identify him as H.C. Reynolds, but it's not 100% certain. It's super interesting. Edit. Thank you to you/young_old soul who has informed me that Tamam shod actually means it's over instead of finished or ended. I had just planned my first date with a friend of a friend. He had recently come out to his friends, and we'd been friends for months, mostly talking online since he was away often for his job. We went to an anime convention together, and he had already come out to me there. He gave the best hugs. We planned to go rock hounding on the mountain, then going to the local gem and mineral show a few days later. This was around the 4th of July. When he didn't show up for the mountain trip, we figured he was stuck at work. He didn't have cell service, and usually didn't get a chance to talk online until his long shifts were over. It was normal to not hear from him for over a week. 2 days later, and a day before the gem and mineral show, I get a call from the friend that introduced us. She tells me he died. Apparently, he'd been dead for an entire week. Because of his job, none of us thought he was missing any more than usual. We got together with all of the friend group to learn the details. They were in an excruciating order from which I'll spare anyone reading this. He had shot himself, and was found a day later in a field heading out of town. He wasn't identified for over a week, since he didn't have any identifying information on him or in his car. He also was unrecognizable. The gun was his father's, but his father lived in a different state and doesn't know how he got it. His mom recently told him to take some old antidepressants because work was making him feel empty inside. He was not out to his parents or co-workers. He was dating my best friend's sister. He received a call while at work. His co-workers said he grew immediately pale, and rushed out from work saying he had to leave. None of this was remotely what the person I talked to online talked about. We had one date before all this where he made me dinner. Seeing him in person was rare. He didn't leave a note. His family didn't know who he was, essentially. Their description of him was not accurate of the man I knew. My friends agreed. The friend who introduced us didn't go. There are so many unanswered questions in this mystery that makes closure almost impossible for me. Who called him? What was it about? His parents loved him, but didn't know the real him. I'm so lost. My grandfather, one day, just walked out the door and never came back. This was before I was born. I'm 27. He left behind my grandmother and his 3 children. There was a statewide search. My mom's family never got closure. Although, methinks he might have had another family that he ran away to. But it still baffles me sometimes at night. My grandmother finally held a pseudo-funeral/memorial for him last year. Edit. Wow, I did not think this would get so much traction. I appreciate everyone for chiming in. Thank you for the silver, kind stranger, and everyone for your interaction. Where is the nearest alien civilization? The truth from when my gran died and the weeks leading up to it. She died on the 6th December. She cancelled her life insurance just days before her death, wrapped every single present for the whole family and name tagged them, over 30 family members. When she usually wrapped them on Christmas Eve, she worked in a small gift shop along with the owner. Both of them died within 3 hours of each other. Has puzzled me for years, and hopefully some truth comes out before I pass away. Jennifer Fairgate/Fergate. It's a fascinating mystery. A woman checks into the Oslo Plaza Hotel, a 5-star establishment, and is found dead in her room 3 days later. Initially assumed to have committed a suicide, but there's no blood on her hands, no gunshot residue, no fingerprints on the bullets in the gun or the gun itself, which in addition to the odd position in which she is found on her bed really starts looking more like homicide. Additionally, no personal belongings in the room besides clothes, shoes, a travel bag and an attaché full of bullets. Clothes and shoes have all producer labels/designations removed as well. Contents of her stomach indicate that she had died the day before she was found, but a member of staff who knocked on her door heard a gunshot go off right after that, indicating someone's presence inside. The door was also locked from the inside, but no one was there when they got in. Probably my favorite true crime thing. I wanna know if they kept going at it with the MK Ultra thing and how they do it now if it is. I want to know everything about the SEER. I mean, it's so big, who knows what new things could be there. I'd like to know what dinosaurs really looked like. I'm not even super into dinosaurs, but I've always wondered how close we are in our guesses. The extent of Jeffrey Epstein's network of pedophiles. When my grandmother was actively dying, she gasped and said, "Bill, my grandfather who had already passed, is here and he brought a black lady," then she died. All of us there were looking at each other like WTF? The Caravana Group, I think that's the name. Basically a group of 7 hikers start hiking the mountains when 6 of them start bleeding from the eyes, ears, nose and mouth. They all scream, start seizing, one even starts bashing their head on a rock. The remaining survivor flees, but later comes back to the bodies to get supplies. She's found a few days later but refused to talk about it. A lot of people say it's a deadly nerve agent that Russia was using. This happened in Siberia, I think, but that doesn't explain why the last one survived, even going back and still being unaffected. I want either know what happened to MH370 or DB Cooper. Who killed Libby and Abby in Delphi, Indiana in February 2017? A man only a year older than me went missing in my town, right near my place of work a few years ago. He just disappeared. I remember seeing the missing posters and the police conducting searches. It has been several years and he is still listed as missing. I think about him from time to time and wonder whatever happened to him. I'd want to know about him. There are so many cases like his. I hope his family and the other families one day get answers. Harold Holt, Australian Prime Minister in the 1960s, disappeared while swimming at the beach. He was never found. Where are the aliens? Tell me. Is there treasure on Oak Island? The Yuba County 55 young mentally handicapped men went missing. They were gone for months without any clues other than a few mysterious phone calls saying not to look for them. Their vehicle was found up on a mountain road a few days after they went missing. It turned on and ran perfectly fine. They were finally found in a trailer deep in the mountains. The strange thing was the one full corpse that was found starved and froze to death when there was plenty of food, water and heat in the trailer to last all 5 boys a year. Some of the food had been eaten, showing that they hadn't had a problem accessing the food. While they did have impairments, they were all independent and would have known how to turn on the heat and get food, call for help. To add the mystery, Ray's 5th man's body was never found, and while the others were cognitively impaired, he suffered from schizophrenia and had several disturbing incidents leading up to their disappearance. The full corpse that Cass found was wearing this man's shoes, but wasn't him. The corpse had been wearing boots the night they disappeared, and it's believed that the man either stole them or talked the other young man into giving him his boots. What happens to the 5th man? Why did the man in the trailer starve to death surrounded by food? Why did the other men leave the trailer and die just hundreds of feet away from it when there was food and warmth so close? Why did they leave the car to begin with? Why didn't they follow the trail back to the road? The true age of the Sphinx. And its original look. This won't be answered or even seen, but fuck it. Around July 87 or 88 in Flushing, Queens, New York, I had met another kid whom I had never seen before. It was strange, as I thought I knew every kid in my smallish neighborhood and who went to my school nearby. He was around my age of 8. We both had skateboards, so we skated around our neighborhood for a few hours, and became fast friends. His name was Nicholas. He was small for his age with blonde hair and blue eyes. He was very nice and took to me like he was my long-lost younger brother. He met my family within a few days of hanging out. He would come by my house and call for me. When he finally convinced me to come to his apartment, I was immediately uneasy going inside as it was messy and in a basement. I felt like I might not make it out. I met his grandmother, who for some reason was holding a small whip she called a cat o' nine tails. Tell me how she would whip Nicholas when he came home late, practically blaming me for the abuse he was about to suffer. All I wanted to do was run out of there, but I stayed strong for my buddy and took responsibility so as to save him, and she acquiesced. Within a few days he had me meet his mother, who appeared, even to a young me, to be a drug-addicted prostitute with a pimp-like boyfriend who dressed like Jimi Hendrix. After meeting her, we hung out much less until one night 2 detectives show up at my door telling my parents that Nicholas is missing, and the mom was there saying to check our house as if we hid him from them. I was shushed away so I couldn't tell them about the whippings I was told about. I never saw Nicholas or heard about the story again. If you are out there, I hope your life turned out okay, friend. What was before our universe? I probably wouldn't understand the answer though. Some animals can't see color cause they don't have the right organs for it. What are all of the aspects of life we're missing out on cause we don't have the organs to perceive them? I wanna know what happened to Louis Le Prince, the true inventor of the film camera. Boarded a train but never left it. Nobody found. I want to know what's in the basement. Erwin Smith. Personally, I wanna know what the Catholic Church is hiding in their giant underground library. That's tough. Jack the Ripper and Andrew Gosden interest me, but I'd pick the Atlas Vampire. Where's all the missing indigenous women from the Highway of Tears and other areas? Somebody must fucking know. Assuming he died, are we allowed to learn 2 truths about one mystery? Where did most of D.B. Cooper's ransom money end up after he jumped from that airplane? I believe the FBI lets you keep it if you find it, as long as you give them a chance to analyze it for latent print DNA first. Those bills must be worth a fortune to a collector. Even if they aren't, I'll still get tens of thousands of dollars in cash. Who doesn't want that? So, I get my name in the papers for finding Cooper's money, and I get a nice chunk of change to keep. A double whammy of good fortune. Who wrote the Voynich manuscript and why? And why was it written encoded or in an unknown language? I like learning about weird mysteries in history, and this is one that remains unsolved to this day despite quite extensive research through the centuries. I would want to learn the truth around the Mothman and what people were seeing in the days leading up to the bridge collapse. In Poland there's a village called Slemiso Bad Meat. And the name from the village comes because there's a legend that once in the village they noticed clients wouldn't return home. It turned out the owner would kill, rob AMD, then turn the clients to meat. So many rabbit holes to go down. What did they find in Roswell, New Mexico in 1947? Who killed John Bennett Ramsey? Who was the Zodiac Killer? What happened to Walter Collins? Who killed the Black Dahlia? Where or what happened to Flight 370 ? And these are just the top of my head. If I had a chance to sit and think, I'd have a lot more. The Curse of Oak Island, so my husband will stop watching it. Not sure if this counts, but I really want a family tree of all living creatures from the beginning of life to now. From the first life form to every human being alive right now. It would be too large to print it. Maybe a very large PNG file in a godlike flash drive with infinite storage. The JFK assassination. Who was Jack the Ripper? Lord. You said one, and there's so many that I wonder about. Did the British intentionally let the Germans sink the Lusitania to bring the US into World War I? Did FDR have advance warning of Pearl Harbor but did nothing? What really happened to Hitler's remains after he killed himself? What really happened to the Edmund Fitzgerald to cause her to sink? What caused the Moorgate crash? But probably above all else, the one I always wonder about, what happened to the kid I witnessed being kidnapped when I was 7, and my parents forbade me from talking to the police about? I just want to know what happened to Brian Schaffer. The Zodiac. I find it very interesting, and I want to know who they were. There is this famous case in France where a bourgeois family was killed, except the father, who disappeared. He is of course the prime suspect, as the events they have reconstructed suggest he got the oldest son back home himself to kill him after the other family members has already been murdered. He buried them all under the terrace and they weren't found right away, so he got a head start, so to say. It's been years and no one knows what happened to him. There have been plenty of sightings all over the country, but he looks very average and forgettable. A few years back, they thought they got him on a flight from Scotland, and didn't show his picture until a few days later. And everyone who knows about the case wondered WTF was the police thinking, because the man who was arrested looks nothing like him. Anyway, I'd like to know what happened to him and if he really did it. I have little doubt he did, but he went to such length to cover his tracks, sending letters to family members saying he and his family were relocating under witness protection in the US, or suggesting he was involved in a big case and couldn't disclose his location, etc. Some people even believed the people buried in his yard were not his real family but morgue corpses with elements of DNA to link it to the family so they could escape/fake their death. Netflix did an episode on it in their remastered Unsolved Mysteries, Season 1, if you want to know more about the case. It's really interesting. The one mystery I would choose to learn the truth about would be the fundamental laws of physics. If we could understand that, well, I can't even imagine what it would be like to have a complete and utterly true account of the laws of physics. It would transform humanity's place in the universe. It is actually truly difficult to imagine the consequences of solving that mystery. The truth about extraterrestrial and maybe even interdimensional life. There's no way we are alone in a universe that is basically infinite. The afterlife. I want to know where Andrew Gosden is. Whether or not there is anything after death. I'd like to know Einstein's last words. He muttered them to a non-German speaking nurse, and she didn't understand SMH. Anybody remember that post about the glitter? Something about like 90% of glitter produced by the largest glitter producer is used for something extremely secret and you would never guess what it is. Edit, original r/unresolved mysteries post. Where the fuck my dad went, the second is the cure cancer. Where is the Ark of the Covenant? Where is the treasure of the Knights Templar? Madeleine McCann. The Zodiac Killer. Not just his identity. His psychology, his motives, his planning, his affiliations. I want every detail of that shit. I would love to know what happened to John Bennett Ramsey. Jimmy Hoffa disappearance. Would like to know how much truth there is to everything Bob Lazar has stated over the years. I'm a teacher and I teach in Asia. I often have trouble getting students to speak because they are so shy. When I did a unit on unsolved mysteries, the students were so excited to speak about what they thought happened to each person, it was amazing. They tried so hard and really worked at it. Who put Bella in the witch elm? Amelia Earhart. I'm very curious why anything exists at all. How does something come from nothing, or how would it somehow always exist? How does experience manifest out of that? Multiverses and doppelgangers. Who were the sea peoples who attacked everyone during the Bronze Age collapse? What are the 11 herbs and spices in the KFC recipe? I'd love to know what happened to the Beaumont children. What happened to Madeleine McCann? Is she still alive? What is with the Elisa Lam video? How did she end up in the water tank? What happened in the Dyatlov passage? What happened to Jeff? Did he go to prison, or did he quit drugs and started a new life? Was there ever a Loch Ness monster? Stephen Paddock, the Las Vegas attack. I've always believed there's more to that story. What reason Stonehenge was built for? Atlantis. I would like to know everything about Atlantis. Where it was, what it was, and most importantly what happened to it. I honestly just want to know where all the shit I've lost over my lifetime ended up. The Max Headroom Signal 1987. I want to know. Natalie Wood. I don't think RJ killed her, but I think he dismissed her screams and got to her body too late and then covered it up. No one believes that no one looked for her till next morning. Parallel universes and whether dark matter is the key to unlocking it or not. Are we in a simulation, or rather, am I in a simulation? Can I choose for someone other than myself to find out the truth? I'd like for my wife to find out whether or not global elites including Nancy Pelosi and Tom Hanks and the Illuminati are really kidnapping and eating children so we can finally give it a fucking rest, please. Well, if I can only pick one, I'm going with Bigfoot. However, I do know of an unsolved mystery where I'm from in Oregon. The legend of Pumpkin Ridge Pete, an old hermit who lived in the hills above North Plains, Oregon. He was known to keep to himself, built a homestead way up in the hills, and literally walked 7 miles each way into town to get supplies. As the story goes, he was ousted from private land where he was living and moved further up the hill. The locals who had evicted him continued to hold a grudge, and one night the youngers found him walking alone on the road and decided to have some fun. They began firing shots at his feet, exclaiming, "Dance, old man, dance," that sort of thing. When one bullet tagged the old man. In a panic, the culprits finished old Pete off, then buried his body somewhere out there in the hills. Since Pete was a well-known fixture of the community, despite being a hermit, a mounted sheriff's posse searched the hills to no conclusion. Pete's body was never found. Subsequently, several years later, one of the supposed gunmen was overheard boasting about the murder in a local bar. Then, not long after, that fellow came to an untimely death when the tractor he was driving mysteriously flipped over on him. This is all well-known local lore in that area. I've personally seen news clippings and other memorabilia. I've even had the privilege of visiting Pete's cabin, on protected private land. Let me tell you, the vibes there are heavy. Yet it's still a mystery to this day what really happened to Pete. Edit, spelling. I'm related to the Beaumont children who went missing in 1966 in South Australia. So many dead-end leads. I know their father is still alive, although their mother passed away in recent years. They had been apart for many years. Sasquatch. I need proof. Confirm my greatest fears. The most mysterious song on the internet. It's such a banger, we need to give the original band credit. Edit, subreddit with more info r/the mysterious song. It's say the mystery of the afterlife. Is there one? Maybe, maybe not, who knows? Well, I would if this came true. The Hatchet Borden killings. It was never confirmed that Lizzie ever killed her parents, even though that she was suspicious. Was it her or a third party that was never connected? Simulation theory. Cicada 3301 and Dyatlov Pass.